We are privileged to have a new friend of mine, Jerry from Belgium. Jerry and I met on Twitter, and I just had to talk to him. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, and let me just start by saying that Your Voice Radio is a great show. I always listen to the show while having my breakfast, and Bill and his merry band of co-hosts are and guests are doing a great job of informing the
Well,
people. So
we're so
thank you.
excited that you're in the audience. I need to know you're in
Hmm?
Antwerp, Belgium. What is
Yes.
the how, when, and where and wherefore of your Trump support? How in the world did you come to support Donald Trump from Belgium?
Well, actually, at a young age, I read somewhere in a newspaper. The first time I was a young adult, I read about the Walman rink, ice skating.
Yes.
Location in Central Park,
Yes.
and yeah, and that triggered my interest in Trump. And so a few years later, I bought his book, The Art of the Deal,
Mm-hmm.
and I started reading that. And a part of that story about the Wilma Rink came into the book, and just triggered me to go out and do the best I can and become a great leader. And yeah, that's how I got into the eye of the storm over here with everything Trump. I defended him like a Belgian can,
Yeah.
the best way I can, and I just beat people on Twitter with facts and numbers. It's pretty funny.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, the Woolman ice rink is one of my favorite stories about Donald Trump. And you have said, too, that there are some similarities between your mayor in Antwerp and Donald Trump. What are they?
Oh yeah. Well, he's also kind of a conservative. Conservative. He is a historian.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the wisdom, he has the knowledge of what things how things transpired in the past, and he can project them to the future. I don't know if you've seen Stefan Molyneux's take on the Roman Empire.
Yes.
So the mayor is also very knowledgeable about that and the similarities with the current affairs. Now, the similarities between Trump, he's also being called Hitler.
Really?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, every name in the book,
Mm-hmm.
they every conservative, whether it's in Holland, whether it's in France, whether it's in Great Britain, they're all Hitler. They're all misogynist, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Every ism. The only
Mm-hmm.
ism they don't have is sadism, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a wink to Bill.
Yeah. Sadism. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. They like sadism.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
one
And
of
what has he done for Antwerp? What are some of the things he's been able to accomplish?
well, especially him. He took down crime. He took down the drugs in the city.
Mm.
And he kicked out 80 years of socialists. So that was the better part of his election.
How did he do that?
Just by saying who he is, by talking the talk and walking the walk, and telling what the people have been saying all along. That's him. That's the similarities with Trump.
Right.
Trump speaks the language of the people, and he did too.
Yes, he does. Did he have a hard time getting his message out? Did he have to go around the media in Belgium?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He started a party. It's called the Flemish Alliance, New Flemish Alliance, and it's not that old. It was
Mm-hmm.
a splinter, a party from a bigger one, which was old indeed. And they left with the conservative part of the first party. So it's a lot of people who really want results.
Mm-hmm.
A thing that Bill keeps telling about.
Yes.
So the mayor of Antwerp, Bart, is also a results-driven guy, and
Excellent.
yeah, his party too, because now in the federal government, they're also members of his party. They control the Ministry of Interior, Finance. So, and there's actually a good reference between the fact that they are elected and how the terrorists in Belgium are being caught,
Mm.
because they gave enough money to the police and to justice, so they can actually work and find all the criminals.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, tell me what the situation is like in Belgium right now. Are there no-go zones? Is there a refugee influx? What's happening in Belgium?
The refugee influx is high, but it's under control. So we are really kicking out the people who don't belong here, who lie on their application, and we're also kicking out the criminals. So the previous parties with socialists in the government, they were never interested in that. They just wanted to keep him here, and we're kicking them out. But yeah, there are a few no-go zones. Of course, Molenbeek. Everybody knows about Molenbeek, where the most of the terrorists in Paris and Brussels resided, or at least found their way to safe houses, etc.
Right.
But
According to what you're being told in Belgium, why were the refugees brought in the first place?
well, because we have the floodgates of Europe are opened. That's why.
But
I mean,
why are you being told the floodgates of Europe are open?
because there are no gates, there are no borders in Europe. The countries that are on the outside of the European Union should keep their borders closed, but they're not. They all came into Greece, and they all walked right away through Europe like it's a shopping mall to find the best location to get welfare. I mean, safety. I never heard of Syria being a neighboring land of Belgium or Sweden, but still they went there, and they found refuge, and they found housing and boarding and welfare. And so
That's, that's unbelievable. So, what of the people you know around you in your life, in your sphere of influence, what is the feeling? What is there a sense that things are changing? Are they staying the same?
well, it's the same that actually made people in England vote for Brexit.
Okay.
We don't like the European Union because everything is being decided by the bureaucrats in the European Commission. We elect a parliament, and they have no power. It's the European Commission who does all the lawmaking. The only thing the parliament can do is amend some laws and discuss them and then vote for them. But the vote is mandatory. It's a mandatory yes or no, whatever the commission decides and whatever party you're in. So
And Belgium has no control over who's on the commission, right?
nope, they're not elected. They're selected.
They're selected.
Yeah.
So if your parliament has no power and people that are selected are sitting on the European Union, then basically you're living under tyranny.
Absolutely, they don't have any accountability. They can do what they want. They don't have to tell anybody why they're doing the things they're doing. They just they go around their business, collect a lot of money, and start to talk about things in the little rooms about laws and everything. It's really horrible.
Okay. Well, last question I want to ask. You're in a neighborhood that includes Holland, France, Germany. What do you see on the horizon for Europe?
Well, it's very interesting. So we have the elections coming up in Holland and France. Geert Wilders from Holland and Marine Le Pen from France. They're really talking the language of the people. The thing that's going on in Holland, we used to have a guy named Pim Fortuyn. He was a doctor in social sciences. He was a professor at the university. He was gay, and he was controversial. I don't know if you met some gay controversial guy.
We've got one over here. His name's
Yeah,
Milo.
yeah. Well, I hope for Milo that he doesn't get shot, because Pim Fortuyn was shot dead in 2002 because of his position around Islam. So, and that's what made Geert Wilders great. He founded a new party, and he has kind of the same language as Pim Fortuyn. And he has support from Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She now resides in the U.S., I think. She's very vocal against Islam and female genital mutilation.
Yes.
So they speak that the problem is the immigrants, and the problem is the media is covering everything up.
Yeah.
And that's why people are fed up with it.
Yep. Okay, so one last question.
Right.
If you had to say, if there's a nationalist movement which is basically saying that nation states should be sovereign. If there's that kind of movement bubbling up across Europe, what would you say is the greater impediment to that movement? Would it be the EU or the media?
Well, both. I think the media are in collusion with the EU.
Okay.
They all want to be globalists, just like in the US, and it's horrible. They lie. The latest tweet about when he was in Melbourne, his speech about what has happened to Sweden.
Yes.
I mean, I understand CNN makes it out to be a terror attack, but if you translate it into Dutch, I never heard the word terror in that sentence.
No, he just said what happened in
Yeah.
Sweden. So
Our media just copy pastes it of CNN. It's just horrible. They're a bunch of incompetent fools.
Well,
Really.
that's why we're here, Jerry. That's
why we're here.
That's why I'm on Twitter, and that's why I'm talking to people like you. You are on the ground. You are giving me your take on the reality that's in your neighborhood. So I appreciate that so very much coming from your part of the world, someone I've not spoken to. I haven't been to Belgium in decades. So beautiful, beautiful country. And I wish all the best for you and for your country and for Europe in general. So
I can say one thing if I can.
Sure.
Last thing. Trump is right. Brussels is a hellhole. So if anybody doubts that, but I also want to end on a little bit of humor. I don't know if you read the tweet about John McCain's doctor. No. No, well, he said, John, you misunderstood. You don't have a protest problem. You have a prostate problem. So
that's good.
That's what is good about Twitter and all the conservative. They're funny, they're eloquent speakers, and they're always right.
Oh, you're wonderful, Jerry. Well, we love having you on Your Voice Radio. We're so pleased you're in the audience. And if you want to follow Jerry on Twitter, his handle is at Mr. Lucassen, Mr. Lucassen. Jerry, thanks again for joining us today.
You're welcome, and have a nice day.
You too.